Hello everyone. Thanks so much for coming back to another one of my YouTube videos. If you want to learn about how to do market research on Instagram, then keep on watching. You're in the right place if you are a content creator, entrepreneur, or small business owner. Let's dive right into it. Okay, so market research, you probably clicked on this video because you're familiar with it, but if you're not, I'm just going to go over it real quick. So market research is something that people have been doing for decades, longer than decades, many years. What is it and why is it effective? So really, market research, let's dive into what it is first. Market research is classically something that big marketing firms like, companies who worked with, big brands or whatever, they did to really be able to know their customers and their demographic, to figure out who people are and why they want to purchase a certain thing. Like basically, market research survey might ask somebody, what kind of flavors do you like, to try to figure out if they're the type of person who would buy Coke or Pepsi or something like that. So people can do market research a number of ways. Classically, it's been done during polls, surveys, focus groups, things like that. But what I'm going to talk about today is specifically how to do market research on Instagram. Now, keep in mind, you can do it on Facebook and other platforms too, but I'm just going to focus on Instagram for today. So why is it important? Market research is important because when you are developing a product or a service, sometimes you're going to create a product or service and you're going to launch it and it does well because you know what people are looking for. But oftentimes you can think you know what people want and you don't actually know what they want and what they're going to buy. And that is why market research is so important. If you're wondering why I mysteriously have lip gloss on, I paused the video and I put lip gloss on and then I did a dance break. Now we're jumping back in. Okay, so I have to do dance breaks throughout the day. It just one of those things I gotta do. So, so now we're establishing why market research is important. If you have a baseline for knowing what people actually want, then you're gonna know what they actually wanna buy, and that's gonna help you out so much with developing your product or service. The problem is if you don't do market research and then you launch something, it's a lot more likely that you're gonna hear crickets when you launch. It's like, maybe no one actually wants to buy it and I just thought they did. So that's the thing. Market research, it's so powerful because what it's going to do is it gives you insight into what people want to actually buy, and more so on top of that, it's going to give you insight into the psychology of it and the motivations of it. If you understand the problem that you're trying to solve for whoever your potential customer or client is going to be, it's going to help you out immensely in creating the product. So many companies, they have gotten so innovative, not just because of their own ideas, but because of market research. They've looked at the competition. They've looked at what they're offering. They think, how can I improve on this product or service? And that's how all of these interesting companies have popped up. They popped up to form a solution to a problem that people have. Sometimes people don't even realize that they have a problem, but somebody's able to fill in the gap with that. So that's where market research can really come in handy for you. Now, let's jump into the next part of the video, which is how to actually conduct market research on Instagram. So one of the big ways that you can do it is you can look at ideal followers of yours, ideal clients that you might be already talking to in the DMs. One way that a lot of online coaches or service providers do this is that they will message someone in the DMs and they'll let them know, hey, you're an ideal client or customer for me. I would love to do a market research call or a market survey call with you. There's not going to be any selling or anything like that. You kind of have to let people know because sometimes they'll be reluctant to get on the phone with you if they think you're going to try to sell to them, which makes total sense if they're not looking to buy right now. And you let them know, like, give them an incentive, like you could offer them a $5 gift card for their time, or you could give them some kind of like freebie guide that you've created that's not available to other people, some kind of exclusive thing like that. Or you could offer to do a 15-minute consulting call or a little bit of work for them for free or something along those lines. You obviously don't want to give away like too much of that, but you do want to be able to compensate people for your time because they are giving you your time. So just consider that when you're trying to do this market survey research calls with them. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you could just be talking to people through the DMs. And you can ask them, like, what are you currently struggling with? Like, what's the toughest thing you're going through with your business? And you relate it to your product or service. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm developing a product and I'm doing XYZ, so I want to know. But you could say that actually, like, really people actually prefer transparency, I think, particularly these days. So saying something like that and putting it right out there will actually be really beneficial for you potentially. Say like, yeah, I'm developing a new service and I'd love to know, like, what are you struggling with the most? And a lot of people will actually be very open and very receptive to let you know what they're struggling with. For example, for me, my ideal clients, they're introverted business owners, or entrepreneurs, so a lot of them are struggling with being confident getting on video, even figuring out like how to work themselves up to getting on Instagram lives. They have trouble with that, or they don't want to sound too salesy. There's a lot of different things that they struggle with. And I've found this out through different calls that I've been on with clients, talking to them in the DMs, things like that. Okay, the next thing that you can do in order to do market research is actually through Instagram stories. Instagram stories is a fantastic tool that you should be utilizing if you have an Instagram account. 150%. You should be active on Instagram stories. And what I recommend doing is you can put one of those little chat boxes so people can talk to you doing that. You can ask them, to chat with you about a particular topic, or if they have questions about it, you can put one of the little questions box and let them know. They can send you a DM if they have any questions about anything. So that's another way to get the conversation rolling. I also recommend doing polls. Polls are really popular. So you throw up a poll and you say A versus B. So like, for example, for me, if I'm going to do a mini training, in the past, I've asked people, what mini training do you want to see next week? Would you prefer to see a mini training on hashtag strategy, or would you prefer to see one on figuring out how to find your ideal clients, right? So something as simple as that. So for your market research, I don't want you to just think of it in terms of your paid programs. I want you to also think of it in terms of your free content. Why should you think of it in terms of your free content as well? Well, your free content is ultimately what magnetizes or draws people to your page who would be potentially interested in your paid content. Not everyone who engages with your free content will want to buy from you, but that's, what I'm talking about in terms of translating the free content to the paid content. So I want you to think about it absolutely in terms of not just your paid program stuff, but your free content as well. You should always be keeping your ideal client or customer in mind when you're creating all of your content on your page. Whether you're thinking about trainings, whether you're thinking about the polls, when you think about the posts that you throw up in your feed with pictures of your face or pictures of your branded content or whatever else you're doing with that, your educational content, you should always be thinking of your ideal client or customer. So doing all this market research stuff is just getting to know them better. What are their motivations? What are their pain points? What are the things that they struggle with the most? And what can you help them with the most that maybe other people aren't doing? How can you make your program more unique, or give them more of what they want, or provide them greater value? Really think about all of the value that you're providing to your ideal client or customer, and that's going to get you so much further with your business than you ever dreamed possible. So that being said, do you do market research? I would love to know. I do market research. I try to do it at least once a week. Sometimes I do it every other week or a couple of times a week, but I try to do it regularly. And honestly, guys, aside from doing just market research and your Instagram story polls, I recommend doing other personal ones as well, because that's just a fun way to engage. So for me, for example, I love watching the show Boy Meets World. I might, take a screenshot of like, oh, I'm watching, my favorite show right now. And I will talk about like, oh, I'm watching Boy Meets World. Are you a fan of the show? And I'll throw up a poll so people can interact. So aside from just getting good market research, which I'm not doing on the personal side, throwing up a poll just encourages people to engage with you. So just like a quick little side note outside of doing the actual market research itself. So yeah. And one more last thing I have to say about the market research calls is the other thing you want to think about when you're getting on calls with people to do market research is you have a choice, obviously, of whether you want to do like a voice call on your phone, or if you want to do like a call over Skype or Zoom or something like that. If you do a video chat, I definitely recommend asking them if you can possibly record the video chat. Hopefully they'll be fine with that. The reason why you might want to record it is you want to see kind of the emotions that are happening as you're discussing these things with them. Some things hit heavier from certain people than others, and that'll kind of give you a gauge of their reaction to something. If they have a stronger reaction to something and it seems like that might be more helpful for you to focus on, then it's just going to give you so much more insight later. And it's hard to remember things like those emotions on the spot. So having a recording on that can be really nice. I haven't ever done things like that, but I know that other coaches have. I've mostly just talked to people in the DMs and on the phone. So yeah, aha, you've made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more great content from me, I post these videos every Sunday. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of the videos. Feel free to leave me a comment. I love to get those. Come say hi to me on Instagram if you want to learn more tips and tricks, amazing stuff from me, and just get more insight into how to grow your page. I'd love to say hi to you over there. Have a great week. See you soon.